Hi, welcome back to Waxing On. It's Monday, and today we're looking at the music of another jazz trumpeter that I became aware of through Downbeat. As you probably noticed over the show, a lot of places get me exposure to new talent. It's either on PBS with Soundstage or Austin City Limits. Some of it was on TV Ontario's Night Music, and the other was through books like Downbeat when I checking out the readers' polls and different record reviews. And this trumpet player, name's Dave Douglas, at this time, and this was in the early 2000s, he was getting a lot of buzz happening on the polls, winning readers' polls, critics' polls, and it piqued my interest to go and check him out. So I did buy one of his albums, and it was Dave Douglas, Strange Liberations. And it's a quartet-sized album, or small group album. I never did find much of his with big band, which again would have been something that I usually would follow. But this is a small group, and this one he's got a special guest star. We've got Bill Frisell on guitar. I'll give you some idea who he's playing with here. Some of the names do sound familiar. We've got Clarence Penn on drums. We've got Chris Potter on tenor saxophone. Again, that name sounds familiar to me. Yuri Kane on Fender Rhodes. Not keyboards, they're actually specifying Fender Rhodes. And I'll tell you, in a big band I played with, we had a Fender Rhodes. And there's such a nice sound to that, a very distinctive sound. And it used to be at that time, you could buy electronic keyboards and they had the Fender sound in there. Nowadays, when you go to electric piano, it's very, very different. It's not that sound. And to my ear, the Fender Rhodes is one of the greatest sounding electric piano sounds. We got Bill Frisell on guitar, Dave Douglas trumpet, and James Jennis on acoustic and electric bass. Now the album consisted of 11 songs, all written by Dave Douglas. Now, I've listened to a few of them, and this is just a bit of a pet peeve of mine, especially in the jazz recordings. I find it, because I've known some people that are friends of mine that are jazz musicians that write their own compositions. I'm thinking of some of the songs on here. There were songs on the other album I had by Dave Holland. It's really hard to find a melody sometimes. You know, when I hear these songs, I think back to that, and I mentioned this before, the old gray whistle test. I don't know how many of you remember what I'm talking about with this. Back in the old days, they said Tin Pan Alley days, they would bring records out and play them for the doorman at some of the hotels. And if the doorman could remember the song and whistle the melody back after just singing it a couple times, they knew they had a hit on their hands. I'll tell you the truth, with some of these new jazz recordings, I'd be hard-pressed to be able to whistle a melody back because I can't find a melody. Some of these kind of fall in that category, and it may just be my ear. It doesn't mean it's not a great album, it's not good compositions, it's not what I feel comfortable hearing. I need that hook, I need that melody, I need something that stays with me, especially when we get into soloing. Yeah, I don't want to hear just a pile of notes and show me all your technique and, you know, how fast you can play, how many scales you know. I want to hear a melody that's crafted into that improvisation. And again, sometimes that's lacking in some of these jazz albums or some of the groups, because we've become so acceptant of, you know, this other being a solo. I think Jerry Naywood right offhand from Chuck Mangioni's band, he made some great solos, some great melodies went in there. I have a fellow play sax in my big band. I mean, it tells a story. But then I have other friends of mine that are professional musicians, and it just sounds like they're spewing out everything they know. It doesn't feel like a solo. I know they're playing their number of bars and they sit down when they're done, but it doesn't feel like there's a beginning and end or any kind of, you know, story on what they're telling me. And you can tell the difference when that happens. Now this album, I mean, we've got some great players. We've got all original compositions, so there's not much I can go back and say, well, you know, compare it to those others. I'm hearing this whole thing for the first time, his composing and his improvising. And I mean, Douglas has got talent. He's all over it. I mean, he's kind of a bop player, great sound, great range, interesting to watch. But I only ended up buying the one album. It really wasn't what I was looking for, but not that it's not a good album and not worth you checking out, because this might be right up your alley. This one came, we got some, there's a picture of the band with him. Bill Frisell there in the center. Dave Douglas next to him. We got some great liner notes. Talking about the different songs. And again, 12 tunes, all written by Dave Douglas. Now, I've kind of lost track. I'm not really even sure where he is at in the polls these days, because to tell you the truth, it's been a while since I've gotten away from Downbeat to know what's going on there. I think it's just the times, man. All the people I grew up listening to they passed away. They're not writing about them anymore. They're not making records unless they're re-releasing some old albums from the vault. So a lot of the new players, I'm just not into them the same way I was the other guys. I mean, you got Miles, we got Dizzy, we got Freddie Hubbard, we got these kind of guys, Chet Baker, I mean, that were just monster players. And I don't find as much of that in the new players. And again, that may just be me. So, not saying you shouldn't check it out. It was a good album. It's a nice sounding band he's got here. Maybe it's just what you're looking for. Anyways, that's one from my collection. Dave Douglas and Strange Liberation. Thanks for joining us again. Hope everybody has a good week. We'll see you on Wednesday when it's Classic Rock. Till then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for stopping by.